Hello, I'm Elizabeth Nancy Jansen, and today is day 18 in the 22 Days of Truths. And I've been doing this series in markdown or countdown, if you will, to the launch of Bride Doll, my book. And the launch date is going to be August 17th. So I'm very excited, and this baby of a book is finally going to be birthed. And today's talk, the 18th truth, is titled, I Know When It's Time to Say I'm Sorry. I Can Make a Healthy Apology. So I picked this truth because there are so many people who are unable to say, I'm sorry. And making an apology is very important. Also, knowing when not to say, I'm sorry is very important as well. So I want to make that very clear in this little talk today. So in this book, Bride Doll, there's so many value points in that it's a beautiful flowing life journey, love story of Naya. What at the very beginning, obviously she truly loves her son Micah, and the act that happens in the first chapter is really an act of desperation. And she does make a serious apology for that. She deeply regrets that act. And she knows she makes a very healthy apology for that. She seriously regrets that. So that is definitely an apology. Now, in the second chapter, we go into the relationship love, and the relationship between Monique and her mother Adele. They never apologize. They cross boundaries, and they have zero healthy boundary. And they never can say I'm sorry to each other, and that's unfortunate, very unfortunate, and that's a conflict that that is beyond coaching, that kind of a relationship. That, when I say beyond coaching, it means it takes a higher level, a clinical level of healthcare professionals to deal with those kinds of issues. So when I say beyond coaching, higher level of intervention. Now with Naya and with Simon, this is where it's very important to realize that Naya, when first of all, in putting on my coach's hat here, if Naya was my client and hopefully preparing for a love relationship, if she was thinking of dating this person, I would ask her about Simon and say, what are his likes, what are his dislikes, what are your likes, what are your core values, and seeing how they would align as partners. But now you can see as they go into the book, if we look at that example of when she did that first grocery shopping, and then he was unhappy with what she brought home, and he was very unhappy with how much money she took out of the bank for the weekend, and he came down on her in hard language and essentially called her inept, harsh language, put her down, and there was no apology, there was no regret. Well, when there's no regret and no apology from someone to your own partner, there is a huge red flag there. And getting back to if this was Naya or someone who I was coaching in a new love relationship or in a potential relationship, just observing that individual, asking that client to observe the individual. Well, how did they interact when you're out on a date or out on a date? You know, how do they interact with people around you? You know, how do they treat other people? You know, if you can observe, you know, do they make apologies? How do they treat other people? How friendly, how caring, how compassionate? If you can see something that would give you a red flag, how they manage conflict, if they're not managing conflict, if that person is in error and cannot make a genuine, sincere apology, that is a red flag. That is a red flag. Or how they manage conflict within their own family, to see how they manage. So, you know, Naya and Simon, she was always the underdog. Simon could never make an apology to her. And even when there was infidelity, you know, infidelity is a big cause for divorce, a big cause for breakup, whether a couple are in marriage or not. Infidelity or cheating on in a dating relationship, big reason for breakup. But if the partner is legitimately regrets what has happened in cheating on, and is willing to make changes, that might be reason for reconsidering or rebuilding the relationship. You know, that the other half of the union can make decisions on whether they want to continue, but the remorse needs to be in there from the person apologizing. But if there is resistance to make a sincere apology, then there's an issue with that. Now, with going on into the other relationship with Naya and Fernando, there was just unwillingness and total detachment, just lack of engagement. So, you know, the unwillingness to even participate, that was a sense of, it was just a difficult situation all the way around. So, you know, back to Simon again, in the book, you know, there were issues and examples. You know, the example of him taking the tire off the MGB, the sports car. He was setting her up for failure, and he knew that this would upset her. Instead of saying, "Here are the keys. Of course you want to take the car out. Here you go. I've got it all shiny for you. Have fun." You know, instead of doing that, he set her up, made her cry, made her feel less than, and didn't say sorry. He gloated over it. You know, anyone who does that to an individual, give your head a shake. That's a huge red flag. So, you know, and anyone who does that to anyone else, or you observe a potential partner doing that to anyone else, note to self, that is someone you probably don't want as a partner. That's probably in conflict with your core values. So take note in observing how people treat others and treat you, and then looking at how you manage. So let's come back to the topic. I know I can make an apology, a sincere apology. And I do not take that lightly. When I was growing up, I came from a very humble beginning, as you know, and I felt less than. It took me a long time to build up my self love, self confidence, worthiness, and my first relationship didn't do anything much to build that up. In fact, it took a lot to build a foundation in that in an environment that was resistant to me developing and nurturing myself as a wonderful woman. In fact, I was told on a daily basis that I was not, and that was not a wonderful thing. So, you know, it's not a loving way to live, that's for certain. But coming back to, am I able to make apologies? So, I'm not in that environment. It wasn't proper for me to say, oh, you're right, I'm not worthy, you're absolutely right, and bow down to that. No, I'm not a doormat. But I was afraid to rock the boat. So I walked on eggshells. Well, I did that for only so long, and then something happened in that marriage, and it gave me permission to end it. Boom, that incident happened, and yay, I changed the locks. So, I was rid of that. I was rid of being not enough in that person's eyes. And that was the end of it. And that never happened again. I never allowed anyone to speak to me that way again. I'd had enough. But I let it go for way too long. And it wasn't true. It wasn't true. So, I needed to build my self-love up again. And I started from that point. So knowing when to say I'm sorry, and raising our children, not to overdo I'm sorry, and they're so humble. Being humble is, it has to be in balance, but that's another whole topic. But being sorry when something happens, when you make a mistake, that you're, this is progress, not perfection in life. No one is perfect. But when you legitimately make a mistake, so for example, I've been very clear about my substance abuse. That was not easy on my family. That was not a picnic, and I worked the 12 steps of recovery, and in the steps, the 8th and 9th step, it is making amends, and I've made amends with my family, and I am sincerely sorry for the harm that I've caused my family, and that's, I know how to say I'm sorry, and that's a very powerful thing to do, and it's very powerful for the family to hear that, but for the family to have to go through that. And I don't want to belabor that, but it being able to say I'm sorry is a big deal. And how we raise our children, to acknowledge that when they are wrong, and to learn from that, and not to belittle them, but to go forward with that, to learn from their mistakes, and not to fear making mistakes, but as a way of learning and going forward. So it's a delicate dance as a parent to learn how to do that. But there's so many people who are unable to say I'm sorry, and I'm sure many of them. And in a relationship, it is so important. And I bring you forward to, Naya, back to the book of Bride Doll. Naya finally gets into a relationship where she's so fulfilled with love, and her new partner, they are so happy and aligned, and there's so much joy, and that's so much aligned to where I live today. And I am so aligned with my partner Arnoldus, and we are so much in love, and it's a beautiful thing. And I guess that's why I want to tell you why I wrote this book, because I want to share this love, that it really does exist. True love really does exist. And we do make mistakes, and we do apologize to each other. And, I'll give you a simple little example. I have, over the course of my life, being a mother of 4 children, one of them being autistic, I've learned to multitask, and, being a woman who's worked full-time in a directorship capacity, I've learned to multitask. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, flat out, multitasking is way overrated. I don't recommend anyone do it. In fact, I think it should be outlawed. But I have to decondition myself. I have to unlearn multitasking. But my husband catches me on it. He'll say to me, "Are you listening?" And he says it very politely. But I am listening, and I can repeat what he says, but I might be doing something else. But it's a reminder, okay, stop everything and just give him eye contact, make that connection happening. And it's true. So I have to look at him and say, I am listening, and, and I'll say, I'm sorry, because he catches me when I'm not making that full 100% attention. And it doesn't happen every day. But when I get a little, I'm doing my thing, and he's wanting 100% of my time, which, he doesn't do that very often when he knows I'm doing my thing, but it's important to him that I get his attention, that he has my attention at that moment. And, he's making that request. So, of course, anyway, and we laugh about it. We have fun with it. So, I do apologize. And that is the thing, the way we do things together. And we're happy to be able, I'm joyful to make that connection. And I'm happy that we can do it with love. So, from being that put down person in my earlier life, in my first marriage, I've come a long way. So, I'm a much happier person. And I know how to say I'm sorry. I know how to make those tough, hard regrets, that I have made to my family, to my children. And I know how to make apologies for the little things as well. But I'm not going to make apologies where they're not necessary either. And I have those examples in a beautiful love story such as Bride Doll. So I hope you've enjoyed my truth today. I hope you can see that there is a lot of love in this person, Elizabeth Nancy Jansen, and I'm enjoying these truths. I hope you are too. Much love. Bye-bye.